Is the party over at Tupperware? The iconic household plastic container maker Tupperware is looking for new investors, warning otherwise it may not be in business much longer. Stocks in Tupperware took a tumble on Monday after the company announced that it is hiring financial advisors because it is unsure about its ability to survive. Now, Tupperware became a symbol of prosperity after the Second World War. The business model was built around in-home sales. In the 1960s and 1970s, suburban women held Tupperware parties, selling the reusable plastic bowls to family, friends, and neighbors. But sales and profits, they have fallen in recent years, and that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw a temporary surge in sales. Well, I'm joined now by Emily Heil. She's a reporter at the Washington Post, whose article on Tupperware's dire financial straits caught our attention. Emily, it's good to have you on the program. I'm going to ask you, because we've all been asking ourselves this in the newsroom. Have you ever been invited to a Tupperware party?
I think I'm just a little too young to have gone to a Tupperware party, although I actually have seen them taking place more virtually. So a lot of people who are a little bit younger might have attended one on Facebook or had attended one online. But I personally have never been. In fact, it's fascinating. I was thinking about this. I have an entire drawer in my kitchen or a shelf, and I call it the Tupperware shelf.
Yep.
But the thing is, there's actually no Tupperware on it. None of those plastic things that come out and hit me on the head every time I open the cabinet are actually labeled Tupperware. And I think that became a problem for the company, that even though they were synonymous with this entire category, there are so many competitors that were coming along and being more visible than they were.
Yeah, that is true. Tupperware, it's like Kleenex or Xerox. I mean, the brand name has actually transcended the brand itself. I mean, we all have plenty of plastic containers in our Tupperware drawer, as you were saying, but not a single item that is a Tupperware product. I mean, that has to be toxic for the company.
That's a problem for sure. And I think it was especially a problem when they think about younger customers who don't want to go to Tupperware parties. You know, I think younger customers are so used to getting what they want right at their fingertips right away, and they just don't shop like that. And there are certain brands maybe that have done that. And I think that at this point, those parties that you sort of dread getting the invite to with your girlfriend selling jewelry or, you dread that, and that's not the kind of way that people want to shop now. And so Tupperware did last year move away from, or at least not totally away from, the party model that had defined it, but they did begin offering their products on Target shelves. But I think it was just a little too late for that brand. It just didn't have the exposure, and if you asked someone a younger customer what Tupperware was, they would tell you it was the containers, but I don't think they would necessarily maybe even know that it was a brand to itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I can barely remember my mother mentioning a Tupperware party, and I guess I was a small boy at the time. So we're talking about, at least 40 years ago. And even then, though, it seemed that Tupperware parties were completely going out of fashion.
Right. But there was a time when Tupperware parties were really like a wonderful thing for women. It was a way, first of all, for the women selling the Tupperware. It was a way for them to generate a little bit of income, women who weren't working outside of their homes. It was a way for them to generate income and, gain a little bit of autonomy and have a little bit, some measure of financial independence and success. And for the women attending them, it seemed a little revolutionary. Here you were, talking to your friends about this product that was going to make your life easier. And it felt like a kind of fun escape from, your routine. And so it really at one point was a really desirable and really revolutionary sales model. And it was actually developed by a suburban Detroit secretary and single mom, back in the 40s. And so this was really at one point this sort of cool and interesting and really important development in sales.
This reminded me, too, of the scene from the film The Graduate, where, you've got this party taking place and you have Mr. McGuire. He pulls a very young Dustin Hoffman to the side and he tells him that there is a big future in plastics. And that was the late 1960s, right? And plastic was equated with modernity, profits, success. But today in 2023, you ask people about plastics and they'll say global warming, pollution, even cancer. This significant change in public opinion, it's obvious. I mean, how does that fit into Tupperware's downfall?
It does, because that idea of putting your food in plastic, we're all actually trying to, especially younger customers, are trying to reduce waste. And so Tupperware, many of their products, though they do last quite a long time, many of them are seen as more disposable. So we're moving away from plastics. You know, a lot of people are looking at glass products for food storage and eliminating food waste. So there's sort of a movement away from just the very idea of their entire product, and so I feel like that too probably has become a problem for them.
Yeah, and like we asked at the beginning of the segment, has the party ended at Tupperware? And I think it is ending for sure. Emily Heil, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.